when you progress in the series, when you start to move from primary and then intermediate and then to advanced and advanced B, maintaining your practice
Sarah,
at a level that I want.
4 gardens.
The gardens.
Like each series is a garden. And how are you going to tend to all those gardens,
all
right?
the gardens. I want the landscape to be tidy.
The more gardens, the more it's asking of you. And there's a certain amount you can do, like what we work on is that we're working on one position, and you really, the more you embrace that and the more you feel that experience of that in each pose, like they really are alike. And so then when you work on one, it doesn't detract from another, even though it seems like I lose my Kapotasana because I don't do it. I do it once a week, or my jump back because I don't do all those in primary. But if you're very clear in the vinyasa, no matter what series you're doing, then you don't have to lose the vinyasa even though you don't do the primary every day. So the single position idea will help. And then you also let go and trust that if you wanted to do primary, say if you wanted to improve your jump back, you could go back and do it. And it's not necessary that they all be honed in all the time. You got to make some choices.
Right. And
focus on certain postures for a while, and it will compromise other postures, and it's just the nature of it. But what I think's the most relevant and interesting part about this whole conversation is it's an arc over time, a long time. And that arc happens like this. As a beginner, you just have a few postures. You start with Surya Namaskara, and then depending on your commitment, your endowment, all these different factors, you're expanding into more series, more postures, more complexity of shapes, okay? And that can arc for a long time. It can unfold over 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, right? But eventually, no matter who you are, that arc climaxes. You get as many postures as you're going to get. It widens out to a certain point where then that's it. And then as you age, as different factors come in, it starts to go the other way. And one of those factors, though, is that you just have too many poses and you can't tend to them all. And so you start making some choices. And this is, to me, this is what you earn. Okay? So Ashtanga, you see, it's like a taboo idea that you learn. The series is almost like a snake skin or a scaffolding, right? You slough it off. If you do it long enough, you've extracted what you can get out of that series. And to me, you earn the right to then start selecting more, to choose, what am I going to emphasize? And that means individualizing, you don't follow every series, every posture the same anymore. You don't do every posture, you choose some. And that individualizing and selecting and narrowing your arc, you return to a beginner by the end. By the time you're 90, you're back down to 6 postures like you started with. And that tapering or that selecting, that concentrating, it's a hard process. It's hard in a lot of ways, because you don't want to do that, necessarily. You'd love to have all the time to keep all 4 series strong and represented, but it's just not realistic with everything else. And so you got to make some choices, and to me, I think of Iyengar, what an amazing example. But if you look at the end, the photographs of him, how many postures did he do? 6, just doesn't do very many. And so, but he does them deep and well, and like you wouldn't see Iyengar at 90 doing Ekapada Bakasana, say, or even Astavakrasana. That's just not his gig anymore. And so you're at a very early stage of that. So you got a lot of choices, and you're trying to keep it together, as many postures as possible, as much of series as possible. It's Hatha yoga we're doing, and Hatha yoga is supposed to teach you yoga, okay? So you use Hatha yoga to learn yoga, and then you use Ashtanga yoga to learn Hatha yoga. And it happens. If you practice enough Ashtanga yoga, you know how to do asanas, pranayama, bandhas. Like you learn, and then you can take that knowledge and it's yours. It's not a series. It's you doing yoga every day. And you can customize. And you not only can you have to.
You have to.
You have to. And you have to feel that your system is not rigid and that as though that's something wrong. It's not wrong. That's what happens with Ashtanga. You have to. If you think you're going to spend your whole life doing every series exactly with every vinyasa, you're insane. The body can't do it, and the mind. It's just too rigid. It's not. You earn the right to customize. And you care so much about the system that you're very judicious in your way of customizing, right? So you do it caringly and like observing the experiments that you do.
So there's really no 4 gardens. It's all one garden.
It's all one garden. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
And I'll tell you this, I feel that it's true. To some degree, I think you end up catering to your strengths to some degree. Like the type of postures you end up selecting are the ones that you like and that give you sukha, that give you well-being, that you can enter into an immovable spot and feel grounded, feel meditation. So the struggle asanas slowly get left behind. I mean, that's the reality. And you earn that by because you gain the benefit of having struggled with like Ekapada Bakasana A or Karandavasana, or these hard postures that are there, but you don't necessarily do those your entire life. You let those go and find the asanas that take you to a state of yoga, and that have the best of hatha yoga for you, your body, your personality, and your circumstances. And for many of us, it ends up being more foundational. And we all end up with shoulder stand, headstand, seated postures, Paschimottanasana, the ones we started with. And I don't know, I just want to emphasize, we're not flippant about changing series or customizing, individualizing. In order to extract the most out of the Ashtanga. Like anyone, people do it they do it anyway, right? People do it all the time without even what I would say earning the right to do it. And it's a fine line, because I also have that saying that I say, like, how like when a woman's pregnant, you give her the pregnancy card. She can do almost anything, any order, anything, any stance, and I say we should all have the pregnancy card all the time, right? Because we don't need to be so rigid about it. And in that way, I think it's wrong to think that the series, like that we try to get this idea that like the order has some magical alchemy that delivers something. And there's some degree of that. There's a little degree of like logic for the body. But for the most part, it's not the order, it's the very discipline. It's the fact that you do a vinyasa between each one, and you do a lot of them. And you do ones that are hard for you as well as ones you like. And you don't get to choose. And things like that's where you extract the value out of it. There's the story my meditation teacher tells about the child, right? That they have that dish, the rice pudding called kheer, and they love the milk and the pudding, right? And it's got sugar and everything in it, but then they put raisins in it. Raisins! And the kid cries, sees those black things. Oh, they won't eat the kheer anymore. So they pull the raisins out, and then they can enjoy, right? And this is the thing of Ashtanga. It's if something makes it so distasteful to you that you won't do it, then you got to pull it out. And it's not ideal. And in fact, the kheer is better with the raisins, but they don't know that, right? And so you're kind of, you got to test your own limits, your own ability to like do the program as it's prescribed. Like how far can you go with that? But not to the point of being rigid or mean with yourself, or not practicing because you can't follow it as strictly as somebody else, or right? So you're testing your own limits with that, and you have to get your ego out of the way to allow yourself to practice and to realize that there's always going to be someone more dedicated than you, and that will do more or take it further, but you still have a place in it. It's a really interesting thing to negotiate with Ashtanga, because there's a culture of you do the series like this 6 days a week,
rules.
And exactly, and if you don't do it that way, you're not doing Ashtanga, or you're not following the recipe, and that exists for the discipline, for the tapas, for the purification, but it obviously backfires if it gets you not practicing. So you've got to have leniency and a forgiveness and a customization. And I do say that you earn the right to customize, but you might need to start customizing sooner than when you earn the right, and and be okay with it, because almost like they say in the Bhagavad Gita, it's so important. No effort is ever wasted. Okay? So you not getting to your mat, that is a waste. Or you bullying yourself because you can't do all of second and all of third while you're learning. You know, like a compromise would be you do part of second, you do, and then you skip to your third. And right? There's all kinds of realistic compromises that you have to be okay with making to stay with the practice and to get the most out of it and to keep learning and growing and not being too hard on yourself at the same time as asking a lot of yourself. See? So it's a razor's edge. Not easy, but
so many rules.
Not so many
It's
rules,
not so
and
rigid.
still the spirit of Pattabhi Jois, Krishnamacharya, Hatha Yoga, Vinyasa. What is the spirit of the yoga we're doing? Like, you discover it by yourself, for yourself. And so why shall we get so rigid that it squashes that ability to discover it by yourself, for yourself, right? And when you think of extracting Hatha Yoga from Ashtanga Yoga, and extracting yoga itself from Hatha Yoga, then you can get that, then you can kind of set yourself free with the technique rather than binding yourself up by it.